We will stand united.
Hello and welcome to Rise With Us, where we're talking to top athletes and fitness experts to find out what makes them tick and keeps them motivated. We'll be digging for insights into some of their biggest achievements, but also their little everyday wins, to bring you the top tips from the normal routines of some extraordinary and very successful people, all to help us rise up to our day-to-day challenges. And on Rise With Us today is one of Britain's most successful para-athletes. She burst onto the world stage by breaking 9 wheelchair sprinting world records in 2010 and hasn't stopped since. In 2012, she won 2 golds at the London Paralympic Games, following up with 3 more at the 2016 Games in Rio. At last count, she was the holder of 5 world and 4 Paralympic record times. She really is very speedy. In 2013, she was awarded an MBE for her services to athletics, and she's also an ambassador for the Youth Sport Trust. And if her recent Twitter posts are anything to go by, she might be quicker now than ever. Hurricane Hannah Cockroft. It's perhaps a miracle that we've managed to slow you down long enough to get you here today. Thank you for joining us on Rise With Us. First of all, what motivates you to keep pushing yourself and keep breaking barriers and breaking world records, because you break quite a lot of your own at this point?
Yeah, I think my motivation has changed a lot throughout my career, and I think it changes day to day as well. At the beginning, for me, it was all about proving people wrong. So my journey into sport was just non-existent, to be honest. I didn't start wheelchair racing until I was 15. I didn't find out about Paralympic sport until I was 12. So I had quite a quick turnaround and quite a long time where sport was just not something I was allowed to do. It was something I wasn't invited to. So to begin with, it was very much, right, you've told me for years that I can't do this and I'm going to prove that I can. So get to London's 2012, and kind of from there, it's all different things, you know, and it changes as you get older. At the moment, if I'm totally honest, my motivation is, you know, I wake up in the morning and I think of Tokyo, I think of the Paralympic Games, I think of my rivals, I think, right, they're going to train hard today, so I need to train harder. But as well, it's still proving people wrong. It's just wanting to leave this sport the absolute best that I can be. I don't want to leave with any regrets. I don't want to leave wondering if I could have done better. And I want to leave, hopefully, a little bit of a legacy, but hopefully I've got a few years left to create that.
I think it's safe to say with what you've achieved so far, you're well on your way to achieving a legacy. Does your entire life then revolve around being the best athlete that you can be? No, you've got to be a real person as well. You know, I'm not going to sit here and preach and say, oh, I don't drink at all, I'm totally teetotal, all I eat is salad. No, I'm not that athlete, unfortunately. Imagine how quick I could go if I was. Don't think about it.
But I think ultimately, when I'm in the race chair, that's all I'm thinking of. But when I get out of the race chair, obviously I want to be an athlete, I want to live a good and healthy life, but I want to have fun as well. You know, I'm 28. I think everything in balance is the way I look at it. You know, I can have fun, I can have a drink with my friends if I want, but at the same time, I've got to go out there, I've got to work it off, and I've got to train as hard as I can.
How do you motivate yourself on the mornings when you wake up and just think, oh, I'm not feeling it today? How do you rise up and do what you need to do anyway?
That is me most days.
That's so refreshing to hear.
Most days, I don't want to leave my bed. I don't really want to train. My muscles are aching. I am tired a lot of the time. It's 2 things for me. I live with my boyfriend, who is also a Paralympian, so it's a little bit of guilt tripping when he gets out of bed and goes training, and I'm like, maybe I should do the same. So that motivates me quite a lot. But the second one is, you know, number one, luckily, tracks don't open that early, so I can't really train normally before 12. So it gives me a little bit of time to sleep in. Luxury. I'm glad I'm not a swimmer. But also just, I'm so lucky to do my job. So I lay there, feel sorry for myself for a little bit, then I get up and ultimately just think, right, I've got maximum of 3 hours work to do today, and then I'm done. Who else gets the chance to say that? And yes, it's 3 hours hard work, it's non-stop, it's tiring, but I'm done, and then I can have the rest of the day to myself, unless I've got 2 sessions. Yeah, I just try and dumb it down and just say to myself, look, this career doesn't last forever. I'm in a really lucky position, so let's get up and do it. And you know what, it doesn't always work. Some days I miss training. You know, some days I really, really don't have the motivation or the energy to do it. And those days feel like the worst days ever. You get to the end of the day and you just think, oh, why didn't I just do it? Why didn't I just make myself do it? So the days when you don't want to do it, you just think, I remember how bad I felt last time I didn't do it, so let's just get it done.
Would that be some advice you'd maybe give to a non-elite athlete, just a regular person who's trying to get a bit more active, that you'll feel so much better, you won't regret it?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's so human to not be bothered to do it. You know, it's my job and I still can't be bothered to do it. But just remember how it makes you feel when you have done it. You feel like you've achieved something with your day. You normally feel a lot happier. You feel hungry, so you can go and eat and not feel anything about what you've just eaten. And you know what? It's fun. Exercise is fun. I know when I look at my sessions, I think, oh, this is not fun. But when I'm doing it, it is, and you feel so much better when it's done. So just remember that feeling at the end and it'll get you through.
When the Tokyo Paralympics were cancelled along with the Olympic Games, how did that affect your day-to-day training and your levels of motivation? Because I imagine when you've been working towards something for so long, that must have been quite demoralising.
Yeah, the cancellation, the postponement of the Games was really tough. I was the one in the house that cried. I really struggled with it. I just felt like I was there, I was ready to go, I was training really well. I knew it was going to be a good year, and when you've been aiming for something for so long, when that gets taken away, it's heartbreaking. And yeah, my motivation dipped a lot. So training last year, it was like nothing I've ever done before. We had to be very creative. So obviously tracks and gyms were shut. So I found a lot of new roads to go train on in my local area. We built a gym in our garage. We changed our spare bedroom into a roller room. So the roller for the race chair is a bit like a treadmill, that we put the race chair on and we can push and not move anywhere. So did a lot more training on that than I would normally like to do. Spent a lot more money on gym than I would normally like to do. But I just wanted to get to Paralympic year and have no excuses. I wanted to know that I was all set. And I think just having it there in the house, you know, me and my boyfriend kept saying to each other, there's no excuses. We've got the equipment, we have nothing else to do, let's just train. So every day we'd just get up and train, and that was our routine. It was something to get out of bed for. It meant that at the end of the day, we'd done our job, you know, we'd done absolutely everything we could do, because we didn't want to get to 2021 and go, oh, I wish I'd done that session.
So you talk about establishing a new routine and kind of getting up and getting your workout done when you had to train at home, compared to sort of maybe having a more leisurely time in bed previously with tracks not open till 12. Has that get up and go been something you've tried to maintain?
It's definitely something I've tried to do on the days where I haven't had to go and meet a coach or, you know, be at training at a certain time. And it sounds so cliche, but when I get up and do it, I feel so much better. I've got so much energy for the rest of the day, but it's just that motivation to get going. And it is hard, you know, when we've had kind of 3 or 4 mornings in the week where we've had to get up, drive somewhere to train with someone else. Those days where you get to lay in bed, you're a bit like, kind of fancy this. Yeah, the mornings when I do it, I'm not going to say I always manage it, but the mornings when I do it, it's nice. And especially on the weekends, you know, we've been getting up, doing our road sessions early on a Saturday, and I've got a whole weekend to myself. Normally on a Saturday, I leave my training until like well in the afternoon, and I'm like, oh, I only have a 1-day weekend, poor me. So it just goes to show, if you organise your week right, you can have a good amount of time.
I want to talk to you about goals. All athletes set goals. How do you approach setting short-term, medium-term and longer-term goals?
So it's something that I just work on with my coach, really. It's a plan that we make together. I think the long-term goals are always very, very obvious. They are the gold medals at whatever major championships are coming up. And then you've just got to break it down from there. So to get to that, what do I need to do daily to get it right? So for me in 2020, I made my short-term goal learning to use a new piece of equipment. So I learnt to use a new pair of gloves, which is something that actually normally I would never have had the time to do, because between training camps, training sessions, competitions, there's just not the time to start playing with things. So I really wanted to use that time to make sure that I learned something that I needed, rather than just spent it carrying on as I normally do. And then the medium goals are, okay, what is the next step? So I've learned the little thing. What is the next step to make sure I get to that gold medal? So is it performing well at a local competition? Is it what time do I need to do? What time do I need to qualify for the Paralympics? So a lot of it would break down kind of into positions in races, times that I need to be pushing in training, times that I need to be pushing in competition, and then just aiming for them really. But if I'm totally honest, I don't focus on it too much. You know, the big goal is what I focus on, and every day that's what I think about. I found that if I focus too much on the times, they don't come, because you stress them so much. You're so desperate for them. You know, in 2019, I broke the 17-second barrier in the 100 metres for the first time ever. It's something that I've chased for 5 years. And every time I went out on the line, I kept thinking, I really want to go under 17 seconds. Please let me go under 17 seconds. And I overworked it and I never quite got it. And the day that I got it, I just sat there and went, I've done all I can do. Let's just see what it is.
How did it feel then when you broke that 17-second barrier?
Unbelievable. I didn't expect it at all. And when it happened, I couldn't believe it. I kept looking at the clock, look at the track, look at the clock, look at the track. Like, did I just do that? I'd lost my world record the year previously. So in 2018, I lost it to my teammate, Carrie Denigan. She was the first T34 female to go under 17 seconds, which absolutely killed me, because it's something I'd been working so hard towards and I just couldn't quite get there mentally. So she took it in 2018, and I'd worked really, really hard in the winter to try and take it back, but never in my wildest dreams did I think I'd do it. You know, I didn't just kind of scoot under it. I did 16.71. I mean, that's a good amount. I think I took half a second off my PB, so it's a good amount of time. And I've even managed to do it since, so it wasn't even a one-off.
Good to know. It's like, see, that's my time now. It wasn't just a fluke. I'll ask you more about Carrie later, but I'm interested to know, when did competing at a Paralympic and World Championship level become a realistic goal for you?
You know what, it was never a dream. I never wanted to be a Paralympian. I found wheelchair racing when I was 15 and just immediately loved it. I loved it for the freedom that it gave me. I loved the independence that it gave me. I loved that when I was out there, whatever I was doing was me, and it was just me, and I couldn't rely on anybody else to get those results. And it was a feeling that I'd never really had before. I just started getting competitions offered, I just started racing at them, doing quite well. I got invited onto the British Paralympic team in 2008 upon their return from the Beijing Paralympic Games. But I didn't know it was a Paralympic team. It was called the World Class Performance Programme, and I was just like, oh yeah, okay. Turned up and there's all my idols in one room. It was a bit of a shocking day. I think, yeah, but you know, the World Championships became a goal when I got to the World Championships. You know, I got taken to my first World Championships in 2011. I got taken for experience because they were hoping that I would medal at Rio, and if not Rio, then Tokyo. So London wasn't even in the plan when I went to my first World Championships. Obviously came home double world champion, which was a bit of a shock to everyone. And I think, you know, that was the minute that London became a goal. Prior to that, I'd kind of been told, nah, no chance. You can't get to a Paralympic Games in 4 years.
What was it like then, coming back from that World Championships with 2 golds, and then all of a sudden 2012 is around the corner, and all of a sudden, from Rio being the original aim, the pressure is on, and the expectation of what you might achieve in London, I imagine, was a lot higher. How did you deal with that?
My life changed kind of overnight. I came home and all of a sudden I was put on a proper nutrition plan, a tougher training plan. I was expected to go to the National Performance Institute twice a week. Just everything changed. You know what? I never felt like the pressure changed though. I never felt like I was expected to win. You know, it was always phrased to me that this is good experience, you know, this will make it really easy when you go to a Paralympics for a medal. You know, it's just an opportunity, like you'll just be part of the team. So the pressure was never really put on me, and at no point during the whole process of London 2012 did I feel nervous. I just felt excited the whole time. Like, all my friends kind of got to holding camp a little bit nervous, got to the village really nervous, got on the start line really, really nervous, and the whole time I was just like, I can't believe I'm here, I can't believe I'm here, look at me, I'm here, look at me. I think that's one of the reasons why I did so well at London, because nobody knew who I was, no one knew what I did, and the support behind you more than anything was just phenomenal. It was amazing. If you were wearing a British vest, people cheered for you. Wherever you were, they cheered, and it was incredible.
People knew who you were after that game, so that's certainly true. Did you not even feel a little bit of pressure or nervousness when you were lining up for the 200 metre final, having already won the 100 metre?
The 200 was definitely different to the 100, but I only felt nervous because prior to the 200, I'd had a week between my 100 metre final and my 200 metre heat. So I'd had a week to kind of, you know, soak it up and enjoy the atmosphere of being a gold medalist. And prior to the race, my coach rang me. My coach was the head coach of the whole athletics team, so he wasn't always around when I was going to race. And he rang me and he said, look, I just want you to know that you might not win tonight, and you have to be okay with that. You know, this is your first Paralympics. You've got one gold medal that you probably shouldn't have. Don't expect to get another one. And that was it for me. I was just like, oh, I don't believe in me anymore. I'm not going to win. I'm ringing my dad like, I'm sorry, you've come all this way. He'd gone to London from Yorkshire, not very far at all. You've come all this way. I'm going to let you down. Don't come. Don't watch me. And I got to the start line and I just sat and I thought, I've beaten all these girls before. I've just beaten them a week ago. Nothing's changed. None of us have had any time to do any extra training. Why would anything be different now? Like, why should one person's opinion of what I can do change the way that I think about what I can do? So I knew the race plan. I knew I had to get a good start. I had to be at 17 miles an hour within the first 100 metres. If I could do that, then I could win. And I remember crossing the line. I crossed the line and I looked up and my coach was literally the first person I saw, and he was laughing his head off at me. I just looked at him and I went, 17? And he just couldn't stop laughing because he knew how to fire me up. He knew how to make me angry, and he just used it to his advantage. So, yeah, I was probably more angry than nervous. Just make it manageable, because if you set yourself this huge goal that takes hours out of your day, you're much less likely to do it. I mean, you know, I wouldn't do it, so I'm going to guarantee that other people probably wouldn't either. And just be proud of what you do.
What made you decide to shift your goals heading into Rio? Because you got 3 golds in Rio, 100 metres, 400 and 800. And there's quite a difference, is there not, between doing 1 and 200 metres and 4 and 8?
It definitely wasn't my decision. So every 4 years, the International Paralympic Committee changed the events that each classification has. So 2012 was the first time that my classification had a Paralympic race since Sydney 2000. So they put in the 100, 200. And then I think to develop the class and to get more girls in, because obviously, you know, like able-bodied runners, not everyone is a sprinter. Some people will be middle distance too. So they wanted to kind of open it up and invite more girls in and give them an event. So initially it was the 100 and 800. I personally believe it was because they wanted 2 different gold medalists, but I wasn't going to let them have that. So I just thought, well, I'll just do it. I'll just train for both. And then about a year out from the games, they said that I would have a 400 as well. Just some rejigging in the programme, in the schedule. There was room for one, so they put it in. So yeah, just trained for it. And you know what, if they say in Tokyo, or even if they said it right now, right, Tokyo, you can have a 1500, I'd be like, okay, let's train for it. Like, if the opportunity is there, I think you just have to go for it. Wheelchair racing is so different to any other sport. You know, it's all upper body strength. So ultimately, even for 100 metres, we're still pushing 10 miles in a session to train for the 100 metres. The endurance is the easy bit, the speed is the hard bit. So You can hold the speed for as long as you want. It's getting fast that's the difficult bit, and I think that's why you see all the greats doing every distance. You see David Weir doing everything from the 100 right through to the marathon. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to do a marathon quite yet.
You're not saying no.
I'm not saying no, but not quite yet. But, I think, we have that ability, so why not do it? And if you have the chance at more medals, just go for it, because you never know, you might unexpectedly win.
Well, you heard it here first on Rise. That's Hannah Cockroft not ruling out the marathon distance. You're also not afraid to step out of your comfort zone away from competitive sport. I want to talk to you about Strictly Come Dancing. How was that, and what was that like?
Ever since I was a kid, I wanted to be a dancer. At 3 years old, I decided I wanted to be a ballerina, and this was my chance to kind of do that. So I just took it, and honestly, I've never been so tired in my life. Luckily, I only had to learn half a dance. I don't know how the celebrities do it on the full show, because I would constantly be exhausted. But remembering the moves is hard. Just being under that spotlight, it's a moment of pressure. But I loved it, getting all dressed up and makeup, and it's not something I usually do, so I enjoyed it, but hard.
You did very well at it as well, you won.
I surprisingly did, I don't know why. It was a team effort.
So you had a great time on Strictly, you did really well. Dancing is one of those things, isn't it? It's fun for everyone, it's a kind of way to get moving. You can just do it anywhere.
Yeah, just put some music on and dance. It is, you go on something like Strictly and you realise how talented the dancers actually are. But it is ultimately just fun. You're not being asked to know how to do the waltz around your living room. Just put some music on and move, and you won't even know that you're exercising. That's the fun thing. I've always got music on in the house. I train to music. I just need it to get me through the day. So yeah, why not have a little bit of movement while you're at it?
Is your goal, going back to sport, is it always, you've broken so many world records, and 17 seconds was obviously a goal for a very long time, is the goal always faster, faster, faster? Yeah,
ultimately, and it's a very hard goal to get away from. A really important thing that I've had to learn, especially in the last few years, is something that my old coach said to me. He said, everyone remembers medals, no one remembers times. Yeah, medals are the aim, not the world records. The world records are just nice add-ons.
For someone, again, who isn't an elite athlete and is maybe just trying to set themselves a target to move a bit more, or try something new, or maybe they are, doing a sport and they want to get better at it, what advice would you give for setting goals? Would you recommend setting ones that you're going to reach a bit sooner in aid of the bigger ones to keep yourself motivated?
Yeah, definitely. I think don't be too hard on yourself is a massive goal, I think you've got to set them manageable. It's fine me going, when I'm a kid going, I want to be Paralympic champion. How do you get there? Break it down. Are you going to not have that takeaway that you have every week? Are you going to miss that this week? Or are you going to go to bed an hour earlier so that you have time in the morning to do a workout, or even just to walk to work or take the stairs at work? What is it you're going to do? And I think just make it manageable, because if you set yourself this huge goal that takes hours out of your day, you're much less likely to do it. I mean, I wouldn't do it, so I'm going to guarantee that other people probably wouldn't either. And just be proud of what you do. Don't beat yourself up over the missed sessions or the things that you don't manage. Recognise the little things that you actually do manage to do, and then you'll feel so much better and actually realise your own progress. Give yourself a pat on the back and enjoy it, because ultimately, fitness is not a punishment. It is supposed to be fun.
You mentioned her earlier, but in terms of Carrie and Denigan, in sort of rivalry you've maybe got now with your Team GB teammate, how has that affected the goals you set, and has that element of competition spurred you on?
Massively. Having Carrie there, it's kind of a blessing and a curse. Carrie watched me compete at London 2012, and she was 10 at the time, so decided, I want to go and give that a go. So in a way, I kind of look at her and I'm like, wow, it's amazing that what I did managed to get her involved in sport. That's pretty cool. But then the other part of me is like, why does she have to watch that day? That's rubbish. But yeah, she's added this element to training that for so many years, so many people always said, well, why do you bother training? You can just turn up and win. And it was always kind of really it's just not a nice feeling. You know, you want people to think, oh, you work really hard, like you deserve your success. So to have people saying, oh, well, you'll just win anyway, kind of made it all feel like, what's the point? Maybe I should just try and win anyway and not bother with the training. And Carrie's kind of made it so that people realise, actually, I trained really hard. And I'm not saying I trained harder than the rest of the girls, I obviously don't know that, but I trained really hard and did really well. And none of the other girls managed to keep up. Whereas now there's Carrie, who also trains really hard and has managed to push me, you know, push me to a silver medal, push me to losing a world record. I've never had that level of competition, and it's swapping sides all the time, you know, and I think we're always watching each other. We're always looking to see what's the other one doing, if they've got a new chair, new equipment, how are they changing, adapting. And I love it, you know. Part of me hates it, but she's the one I think of when I'm training. You know, she's the one that makes me just work that little bit harder or not miss that session, because ultimately she's the one that I want to beat.
Do you set yourself personal goals as well, or is personal life relaxation, see what happens?
I wish it was. My personal goals are very simple. Things like put the washing away, empty my inbox, which is an ongoing goal. I've been going for that for about 7 years now and it's still not happened. Simple things like that, but they're challenging goals for me. Also personal goals as an athlete. You know, I've been encouraged since I started racing to really, you know, remember that athletics doesn't last forever. Being an athlete is not your life job, unfortunately. So you've always got to keep planning for the future. So I went to university after London 2012, and then I've had various presenting jobs. So I'm always looking out for things like that, looking for ways to improve and looking for ways to learn a little bit more. But yeah, I'm always setting goals. I like something that switches my mind off from sport. I don't want to constantly be Hannah, the sports person. I want to be Hannah as well and know what comes next. So it's learning how to have those distractions and manage them. But you've got to make them small enough to realise that this is my job right now.
In terms of support, how crucial have your family been in helping you get where you are?
My family are amazing because they're there, but they're not there. They keep out of the way and they only kind of say their bit when I really need the shove in the direction that I need. They're there with advice. They're there to, you know, tell me I'm really good when I'm feeling a bit down, or tell me I'm rubbish when I'm a bit too up myself. They keep me down to earth and keep me appreciating everything that I get through sport. And yeah, they're amazing. You know, like when I lived at home, my dad came out and trained with me most days, cycled with me on the road and on the track. My mom did all my washing and my cooking, and even now, like my brother, bless him, he still attempts to tackle my inbox that never goes down. He does all my kind of website and things like that, so they're a massive, massive support system.
How vital is structural support from Team GB as well in achieving what you've managed to achieve?
It's really important because most of the time it's the organisational things that take up all of your time, you know, the travel, the competitions, the financial side of things, and when someone can kind of take that off you, then it's not something you have to worry about all the time. So I've got my coach and obviously she sets my training, so I just read a piece of paper, go and do it, and that's what I have to do for that day. We've got nutritionists, doctors, psychologists. There's literally every single part of us that's looked after. So it just means that if you've ever got a problem, you don't have to sit and worry about it. There's someone straight there to talk to about it. And it really just takes those pressures off so that all you have to focus on is your performance when you're out there.
What's the camaraderie like as well amongst the GB athletes? Because although you might at times be competing against each other, when you're at a World Championships or Paralympic Games, you're the only ones experiencing that intense pressure. So it must be important to support each other away from the competition.
Massively. I've got some brilliant friends on the team. People that, you know, that I see obviously away from camps as well. I see them all the time. You know, I love going out and watching them compete. I'm always the voice that you can hear screaming for people because ultimately you understand what they're trying to do. You understand how hard they've worked to get where they are. And normally we understand it better than anybody. You know, we know everyone's ins and outs because we spend countless days with them. So you kind of have to know them as a person as well. And it's lovely, you know, you have some of your best friends in your best times when you're out there as a team. Everyone slips up, everyone makes mistakes. I will happily eat the whole pizza if you let me. So ultimately, I just know that food is not a reward. It's important. We need it. We all need it, whatever we're doing.
We will stand united.
Let's talk a little bit about food.
Oh, yes,
Let's make ourselves hungry as we sit here. Is food for you very much fuel, and do you have to be quite strict, or is there an element of you get a bit of balance and enjoy the best of both?
I completely see it as balance. I'm not an athlete that says, right, I'm on this strict diet, I won't go off it, this is all I eat. I've never been good at that. I'm not strict enough for myself. I don't have the control. So I try to eat high protein, low carb, but if I want a pizza, I'll have a pizza. Because I always find if you try and just say to yourself, right, I'm not going to have that at all, it's the one thing that you just want, you crave it, and it makes you feel like rubbish. So if you let yourself have a little block of chocolate, then normally you're just like, don't even want it after that anyway, so it's fine.
We're different people.
I think I let myself enjoy what I want to eat when I eat it. Obviously, when it comes to competition time, when it comes to a more important time, that's when I work closely with the nutritionist and try to get it right. No one gets it 100% right. Everyone slips up. Everyone makes mistakes. I will happily eat the whole pizza if you let me. So ultimately, I just know that food is not a reward. It's important. We need it. We all need it, whatever we're doing. So it is fuel. I need food to get through the sessions that I do. I push my body to complete limits, like complete exhaustion most days. And why should I not enjoy what I'm having when I get to the end of that? So yeah, I'm not massively strict. I just like eating.
As you've got older and moved through your 20s, which always results in changes to metabolism and this, that and the other, have you had to change your approach to food as you go, or has it always been this sort of very balanced approach?
Oh no, I've definitely had to change. Till the point that I got to 21, I could eat and eat and eat whatever I wanted and my weight never changed, and it was just the perfect thing. And then I hit 21 and that was it. Just had this really difficult time where I wanted to eat but was having comments made about my weight and was really struggling, and at no point was I ever big, I've never been overweight. You're not just surrounded by a support team, you're also surrounded by people who always want to make a comment, and everyone's always got an opinion, and it can be really, really difficult, especially as a young girl, kind of getting through that and accepting people's comments and just going, oh, well, your comment doesn't matter. You always think, oh, they think I'm overweight, right, that's it, I need to go and lose all this weight and just eat salads every day and be an athlete. But that's not what it is. It even comes down to race day. It got to the point where it's just like, right, this is your plan, this is all you can eat. There's no point being sat on a start line, starving, hungry, because that's all you're thinking about. You're not putting the energy into the race. So I've just got to a point now where I'm happy with where I'm at, and yeah, I allow myself what I want, when I want, within reason.
Yeah, you've got to fuel it right. There's nothing worse than sort of going to do any sort of exercise thinking, I can't do this today because I'm hungry.
Yeah, it just makes it more difficult and it takes your focus away. So allow yourself the indulgence and just be aware of where you're at. And I think that's all you can do.
What is your go-to nutritious meal then if you've had a long day of training, you just want something quick, so you get your recovery in and just relax?
You know what? My favourite meal in the world is spaghetti bolognese. At London 2012, I had spaghetti bolognese every single day because with the nutritionist, we worked out. So when you're at the Paralympics, there's this massive food tent, and imagine a food, it's there. So they had like the Italy bit, you could have pizzas and pastas. There was like a curry section. There's like, obviously British, you could have a roast dinner at any time of day, 24 hours a day. Sounds amazing. I saw athletes literally come in with like, oh my God, look at all this food, I'm gonna eat it all. Not great at Paralympics. So I made this agreement with my nutritionist. This is my favorite meal. I'm going to have this every single night because it's got a good amount of carbs, it's obviously got protein in the meat, it's got vegetables, it'll fill me up, like here we go, this is what I'm having. And obviously it worked, so yeah, that's probably my go-to meal. It's quick and easy to make, I know it's got what I need in it, and I enjoy it. Mainly, that's the most important bit.
That really is. I've also heard that you and your family enjoy pie and mash. Is that your go-to comfort food?
Love pie. I just love pie. I'm probably a very Yorkshire person, but
No.
I have to avoid eating that a lot. So that's like a treat meal.
Yeah.
I wouldn't eat it every week, unfortunately.
One of the other challenges you've taken on away from racing is you were on the Stand Up to Cancer special of Great British Bake Off. Are you a baker? Are you a cook, in fact? And what is Paul Hollywood really like?
I am not a cook, I am not a baker. I had never seen the Great British Bake Off when I agreed to go on the show, which was probably, in hindsight, a massive mistake. I avoid the kitchen at all costs. My boyfriend does the majority of the cooking. I just don't enjoy it. I don't understand how things go together to make a meal. It confuses me. And Paul Hollywood is scary. He's lovely. He's a lovely, lovely guy, but just those piercing blue eyes when they're there and he's going, so why are you doing that, Hannah? And I'm like, I don't know. If you don't know why I'm doing it, then I probably shouldn't be doing this right now. And it's too late because I've already mixed it in. It was a very, I said Strictly was scary. Bake Off was like, my hands were constantly shaking. It's intense. It is an intense show to film when you are not a baker.
How did you cope with a different kind of intensity when you're that out of your comfort zone and doing something that you're, by your own admission, not good at, which is not the case when you sit in your race chair?
I think I just tried to be logical about it. So I had baking lessons before I went on the show that evidently didn't help at all. But it's so different. Like cooking in your kitchen is so different to cooking in the Bake Off tent. I had my instructions written out and I just tried to make it a process. The whole weekend was just winging it. Like my biscuit tower crumbled. I had to make 24 biscuits in 2 hours and it was a nightmare. I have nightmares about it, but I did it. I think I came second, so I didn't actually do that bad. But yeah, have your process, stick to it and don't let anyone distract you. That's what I did.
And that's good advice for anything.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, just believe in what you're doing and nothing else matters.
You terrify some people, your competitors, when you line up on the track. But I have heard there is one thing that terrifies you, and that is fish. Is it live fish or is it all fish, as far away as possible from a sushi restaurant?
Yes, I hate fish, dead or alive. Like, I don't eat it, I don't... Well, no, don't like it. I don't like them on telly, nothing.
Do you know where this comes from?
It's
It's a very specific phobia.
It's very niche, yes. I think it's from when I was a kid. My brother chased me around the supermarket. You know, with the full fish, he'd just pick one up and chase me. And obviously I can't run, so it's pretty daunting when you've got this fish. And they always still have their teeth. Oh man, they're horrible. They always have their teeth and no.
We'll change the subject because I can tell you.
Don't they make me feel sick? They're horrible.
When you've obviously been really lucky to travel around the world, racing and competing, are you able to try different cuisines when you travel, or is that tricky to do in the lead up to a race?
So it really depends on why we're there. Obviously at Paralympic Games, I wouldn't recommend trying new things just in case. At the 2017 World Championships in London, I got food poisoning. So I'm very cautious of what I eat going into a competition now, because it was not a great night, but I broke the world record in the 100 metres the next day. So I think I vomited enough to lose weight, enough weight to make me go quicker.
We'll just say that is not a method for going quicker that you'd ever condone.
It was horrendous, but it obviously worked out. You know what? The whole championships, I was just plagued by illness. I had the food poisoning, and then I came down with some kind of like flu. And I just spent the whole championships just dazed and confused and wanting to be asleep somewhere in a corner. And it all came down to, you know, winning the World Championship titles. It literally came down to autopilot. I just switched myself onto autopilot, didn't think about where I was and got through the races. So thankfully all my training paid off. But going back to the original point, it really depends why we're there. If we're competing, then no, I would probably stick to what I know. But training camp wise, you know, I travelled to some amazing places. I've been to Australia. This year I'm going to Dubai for training camp. We go to Spain quite a lot. Those kind of things, yeah, I would try and just try something a bit local and try new things. And it's quite nice, you know, my coach is really good. Like, she tries to make sure that wherever we go, we get to see just a little part of it. I competed in San Francisco a few years ago, and she drove me over the Golden Gate Bridge on the way to the competition. So just to say, you know, we say we go to all these places, but normally you just see a track and a hotel and an airport. So it's nice to work out which places you'd like to go back to when you're not an athlete.
We've touched on rest and sleep generally, but how do you relax and unwind?
I like to have a bath. That helps me. I'm actually a really bad sleeper. I get really bad pains in my hips and my legs, which being in the race chair probably doesn't help. So it takes me ages to get to sleep at night, just tossing and turning because my legs are aching. So yeah, a bath normally relaxes them quite a lot. I use like a machine, like recovery boots. So you put them on and they blow up with air and then let it out, and it kind of plays with the pressure in your legs. So that sometimes soothes that as well. So I relax doing that. I like to read. I really like to read, but my boyfriend loves to watch TV. So I watched a lot of TV. I think in 2020 I watched more movies than I've watched in my whole lifetime. So yeah, just normal things really. When the world is normal, I like going to the cinema. I love shopping. Yeah, normal recovery things that other people like to do.
With struggling to get to sleep then, is there anything you specifically do to wind down and bring sleep on a little bit quicker? Because that's a common problem for a lot of people.
So a big one for me is, you know, stepping away from screens, put my phone down, turn the TV off, just sit and read, sit and relax, sit and switch my mind off. Another one is I write a lot of lists. You know, I'm the person that lays there and goes, oh, I haven't done this, I've forgotten to do that. Then it's just running through your mind all night. So just write it down, whether it's on your phone, on a bit of paper, whatever it is, get it out your head, and that helps. And just stretching really, stretching before I go to bed to get rid of those aches and pains, and try and wake up ache and pain free, which never happens, but I can try my best. Yeah, just try and gradually switch everything off through the night and hopefully get some sleep.
How do you cope with jet lag? Is that something you had to learn to manage so that when you travel for competition, you're in good form and you're adjusted when you get there?
So my first championships was in New Zealand, which we spoke about, and that was the first time I'd really had to deal with jet lag. And I just remember, like, me and two of my teammates, we were all a similar age, at a similar point in our career, and we got given sleeping tablets. Don't worry, they were proper sleeping tablets. We were just not used to them, and it made us go crazy. Like, I just remember us, like, we all shared a room, laying in the room, like, oh, I don't know, there's a bird in the room, what's going on? Because we'd taken these tablets. Thankfully, I've stepped away from needing sleeping tablets now to deal with jet lag.
Don't sound like they agree with you if you're seeing birds.
It was a very entertaining time. Now, I try to book my flights so that I arrive in the evening, so we can just get in, go to bed, which really helps me because I'm always really tired after travelling anyway. If we can't do that, I kind of get to wherever I'm going and go straight out. Like, don't go to the hotel and sit down, because that's when you're going to fall asleep, and then your whole sleep pattern is out of order. Get in, if it's still daytime, just go straight back out for a walk, for an explore, for a bit of food, whatever it might be, get out there. And yeah, just try and, from the first night, fall into the local sleep time. So, especially when we go to Australia, sometimes it can feel like your eyes are hanging out of your head, and it's a horrible feeling. But in Australia, we train at like 6 a.m. anyway because of the heat. So the early morning wake-ups kind of help a little bit, because otherwise I'd never get out of bed.
Do you sleep well the night before a big race? Do you get to sleep the night before a Paralympic final?
You know what? Yeah, I do. I'm quite a calm person when it comes to racing. I just, you know, I like to just know, right, I've done everything that I can do. This is what I need to do tomorrow. You know, again, I've got everything written down, so I make these planners with my lifestyles manager, and it's literally like, right, wake up at this time, have breakfast, your race is at this time, so start your warm-up at this time, catch the bus at this time, like laying out all my kit, even if I'm racing in the evening, like just plan it all. And then ultimately I just go to sleep, because that's all that's left to do. If you're not going to sleep well, you're not going to race well. And I remember in 2014, it was the European Championships, and I was racing against my teammate, and she knew that I needed to sleep well before I raced, but she didn't need to sleep well. So her tactic was to keep me awake all night. So she went out at like 8 o'clock, went, oh, I'm gonna go meet my coach. And I was like, okay, so carried on setting my stuff up, having a shower, At like 3 a.m. she came back, like not quietly, not the way that you would normally come back. She came in and made a lot of noise because she knew it would disrupt my preparation for the next day. Luckily I beat her the next day. It wasn't Carrie, I'd just like to point out it wasn't Carrie at that point, she wasn't racing. But yeah, it's funny like how people can use your sleep against you, but I am quite a good sleeper when it comes to competition.
You mentioned sort of planning out your day, working from home more and not having the routines we've had for years. That can be something that people find quite difficult. Is planning out hour by hour or block by block a way you find routine when you're out of your comfort zone?
Yeah, massively. And like we said, like 2020, that was so important. I found that when we organised a team Zoom training session in the morning, like right 10 a.m, then that kind of started the day off. You know, we spoke about getting up, getting on with it. That started the day off. I talked about my lists, and I've always got a list of what I need to get done that day. But just put it into sections, you know, I need to train at some point, I need to do emails at some point. And I think it just helps organise your mind, and it helps you realise, right, well, I've got this time that I can relax and I've got this time. But I also think it's really important in a day to set yourself a start time. So I need to be doing something by this time. And set yourself an end time as well. Like working from home is hard, training from home, your role is just there. Like I could go training at 10 o'clock at night if I really wanted to, but I don't want to. So I've got to force myself to do it before that point. So set yourself an end time, like, right, tonight I want to have logged off my computer by 6 p.m. or I want to have finished and be sat down watching a movie by 7 o'clock, whatever it might be. I want to be in the bath, I want to be in bed. Like, just give yourself that target, and it's something to work towards. And I think it really helps to motivate me, because then I can sit down at that time and go, oh, what a productive day. I'm really proud of myself that I've done that. And now I've got this time with my family or just to relax or whatever it might be, because ultimately your day can just drag on forever if you let it, and then you just get more and more exhausted. So yeah, it's all about just time management, and it's something I've really had to learn. You know, it's not something that comes natural to me at all. I would lay in bed all day if I could. But just put it down there, and it's amazing what you can get done in a day.
Hannah, it's amazing what you can get done in a career so far as well, and we can't wait to see what you do over the next few years. Thank you for joining us on Rise With Us.
Thank you.
Sky Sports. Feel it all.